Okay. You want to just go ahead and give your name and, some general background, where you're born and the city you live in?
Yeah, I'm Rusty DeRonia. I was born in Boston in 1948. I'm 59 years old in 3 weeks.
Wonderful. Why did you join the service? Were you drafted, and how old were you?
No, I joined the Marine Corps in 1966. I volunteered.
Okay.
I was 18.
And what were you doing before you joined the service?
I was in high school.
In high school. And what branch of the service were you in?
The Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. And how did your parents feel about you joining?
They weren't happy.
And where did you do your basic training?
Parris Island, South Carolina.
Wonderful. And was there a culture shock of meeting people from all over the country?
Yeah, I'd say there was a culture shock. I mean, we had people, most of the people that were in my basic training platoon were, the majority of them were from the Massachusetts, New England area, but we did have other people from the South, as far west as Arkansas, as far south as Florida, Georgia, Alabama, places like that. So it was kind of a different mix of people.
Were you all close in age, or?
Yeah, I would say that the average age was 19.
Okay. Do you have any interesting stories you'd like to share from your basic training?
It was an experience. That's about as far as I want to go. 41 years ago this May, I was standing at 2:30 in the morning on the little yellow painted footprints at Parris Island, and it was not a happy time.
What was your military occupational specialty?
I was a track vehicle repairman for an anti-tank weapon called the Ontos. It was a 10-ton vehicle on tracks that had 6 106mm recoilless rifles, 4 50 caliber machine guns, and a 30 caliber machine gun.
And what zone of combat did you see action?
I was in the I Corps, Northern Vietnam.
Were you happy to be in Vietnam? Excuse me.
I don't think happy is a term, but we just went where they sent us.
And what did you think of the Vietnamese people?
I think at first I kind of felt sorry for them because their lives were in turmoil. I think that's probably sums it up. I mean, I don't think that I think they were pawns. They were stuck between their own countrymen fighting them and us going over there and, kind of like just changing their lives altogether.
During your time in Vietnam, did you know what you were fighting for? And did you think that the government's mission was correct?
Well, let's put it this way. We were from a generation right after World War II. In 1966, when I joined the Marines, there was a war going on, and it was, I considered it my duty to serve my country. And whether the war was right, wrong, or indifferent, there was a calling there, and there were probably a group out of my high school class of somewhere around 30 people that all joined at the same time, different branches of the service.
Did you ever think that this was just a civil war between the same people?
Oh, I think everybody thought that there was a civil war between the same people, but we were there to supposedly help the South Vietnamese overcome aggression from the North. And I mean, after a while it became apparent that it wasn't really going the way we thought it was going to go, but we basically just stayed there and persevered.
What was it like to go out and seek and destroy missions?
It was hairy. It was very hairy. Anybody that has been in combat that says that they weren't afraid is a liar. I was scared every day I went out.
Do you want to tell us some acts of heroism that you saw?
There were a lot of acts of heroism. I was actually involved I was over there during the Tet Offense, and we were one of the first relief units to go to battle our way back in Away City. And there were untold numbers of acts of heroism. The Marines have a credo that they never leave anybody behind. So if somebody got wounded, regardless of how many people it took to get that man out of the line of fire, he was taken out of the line of fire. And in a lot of cases there, with the amount of snipers and different crossfire that we experienced over there. A lot of the people that went out to rescue the person that was out there ended up being shot, or in some cases killed. So heroism is kind of like a relative term. I mean, I think everybody that served over in Vietnam should be considered a hero. But when it comes right down to it, the real heroes are the people that didn't come back.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were winning the war or could win the war?
I think everybody had a feeling that we could win the war. There were so many restrictions put upon the different branches of the service over there, where you could fire, where you could shoot, where you couldn't shoot, you know, who was the good guys, who were the bad guys. It was kind of hard to ever establish who were the good guys and who were the bad guys. So it was kind of a tough call.
Could you trust the native South Vietnamese people?
I'll relate an interesting story. At battalion base camp for the first anti-tank battalion, it was in Da Nang at the time I got over there. During the Tet offensive, I had the opportunity to talk after the offensive was all over to a couple of guys that were still stationed in Da Nang, and I was stationed in Da Nang for about 3 months before I was assigned to a line company, and we had a Vietnamese barber that used to cut our hair on the base. And during one of the early assaults on that particular position in Da Nang, that same barber was found in the concertina wire dead, leading an assault, and he basically had in his pocket a map of the entire complex. So his being the barber on the base as a Vietnamese civilian proved to be he was a spy for the North Vietnamese or the Viet Cong, and basically mapped out the whole base for a future attack. So in that sense, I don't believe that we could, it was kind of hard to trust anybody.
Did you have any ill feelings for people that stayed at home, college students, along those lines?
Again, that's kind of a tough one. I don't think that I had any ill feelings for anybody that stayed at home that were in school. It was my choice not to go to college at that time. I could have went to college. I did after I got out of the service, but the only thing that bothered me was the fact that, you know, the Marine Corps, the service itself, never really let anybody know what was going on at home, and we basically relied on letters from home and maybe some newspaper articles that were sent to us. So, you know, we knew that there were protests going on. We knew that probably around 67, 68, 69, it really took a turn, especially after the Tet offense, that both the media as well as the people in the United States, or certain people in the United States, were against the war, and that was fine. Every war that the United States has ever fought, people have been against it. Some people have been against war, and people are against war in general, but I think the thing that bothered me the most, and bothered probably a lot of the guys over there, was the fact that when they got home, the animosity that was shown toward a lot of people was just overwhelming. And it kind of put a lot of people off, put a lot of veterans off.
Any close friends of yours that were killed in action?
I had close friends that were in the service with me that I had known before I went in the service, and a lot of them got killed during that Tet offensive. I do have a lot of friends, probably 4 or 5 people that I went to high school with, that were in different branches of the service that ended up being killed. I have a good friend of mine, Ted Donato's uncle from the former Boston Bruins. He joined well before we did, and he was a career Navy man. He was shot down in a P-3 Orion aircraft with a crew of, I think, 8 other people over, I believe it was Laos, in '68 while I was still in Vietnam. They never recovered his body until the '90s. And it was kind of a sobering experience. We all went down to Arlington National Cemetery, where himself and all of his crew members were buried in a single grave. That probably hit home because it was so long before that guy. He was declared missing in action. He was on the wall as missing in action until they recovered his body. And so that was kind of a sobering experience.
Do you want to speak further about how you were treated when you got home?
One of the things that stands out the most to me when I get home is nobody really asked you, other than maybe your parents, what happened and what it was like or anything else. Even if you brought it up, it was kind of like nobody wanted to hear it, which was fine. But I think it led to repressing a lot of things that happened over there, and related years for myself as well as friends of mine. So, was I the subject of going through an airport and getting spit on? No. Were there stories about that? Did it actually happen? I think it did. Did I see protests when I get home? Yes. Did I take part in them? No. Did I take either side? No. When you get home, I was still in the service when I got home from Vietnam, my first tour, and I was only home for like 30 days, and then I was stationed back down in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune. So, for all intents and purposes, the 30 days I was home, when I first got back from Vietnam, it was, there were no parades or anything like that, but you get sent home alone. You went to Vietnam alone, you get sent home alone. And nobody wanted to hear about it. I really didn't want to talk about it, or a combination of both. You read in the papers, you were able to actually watch television at night and see the reports from Vietnam because the war was still going on. It was kind of eerie, I think, but you didn't. You just wanted to get on with your life, and basically that's what I did.
Do you feel that Vietnam was a mistake?
Well, hindsight is great. Can I look back and say that Vietnam was a mistake at the time? I think it was a mistake only in the fact that, probably even similar to what we're doing in Iraq today, there's no clear-cut lines. Because it is a civil war, or a form of a civil war, it's kind of hard to describe. It's not World War II, it's not World War I, where we had defined lines and people in uniform fighting each other. You had people in Vietnam that were taking shots at you that supposedly were the good guys. I think that the premise that we went over there with was correct, to basically bolster up the South Vietnamese government. I think that the way that the war was waged, you couldn't bomb a certain area, you couldn't go here because you were afraid you were going to get the Russians involved or the Chinese involved and everything else. It was kind of like a lot of wasted lives, I think, because you couldn't wage a conventional war.
What are your biggest regrets about your military service in Vietnam?
Quite frankly, I don't have any regrets. I mean, I'll go back to what I said originally. There was a duty to serve. The draft was still on. Everybody had to serve in some capacity. I chose to join. I chose to join the Marine Corps instead because I thought that if I did have to go to Vietnam, that would be having Marine training would be something that would probably save my life, and it did. I think if I had to do it all over again under the same circumstances, I'd probably do the same thing.
Did you receive any medals?
I received a good conduct medal. I received a Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with a Silver Star.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Not really, no.
Well, thank you very much.
Not a problem.